K2 News, the station more and more people are watching.
January 15th, 2002.
The president's campaign took his money.
I have never discussed with Mr. Lay the financial problems of the company.
Essentially, the president said, I did not have political relations with that man.
Sorry, given the obvious...
The Washington press corps took the bait.
When did the president learn of the financial straits of Enron?
Mr. Lay called Mr. Evans the same day. He called Secretary O'Neill.
So it sounds like he was asking for a bailout.
And the stockholders took the fall.
It went from being a respected company to being a dog in a span of about 6 weeks.
Tonight, taking care of business, the fall of Enron.
From ABC News, this is Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
Last year, around mid-August, some interesting things happened within a few days of one another. Enron's chief executive officer, a man by the name of Jeff Skilling, resigned citing personal reasons. Enron's board of directors asked Ken Lay, the company's former chairman and CEO, to resume that role, which he agreed to do. One of Mr. Lay's first acts was to issue a company-wide memo in which he wrote, among other things, I want to assure you that I have never felt better about the prospects for the company. Our performance has never been stronger, our business model has never been more robust, our growth has never been more certain. Right about the same time, probably a few days after Lay's memo, Sharon Watkins, one of Enron's company vice presidents, sent a troubled letter to Ken Lay. I am incredibly nervous, she wrote, that we will implode in a wave of accounting scandals. Former CEO Jeff Skilling is resigning now for personal reasons, but I think he wasn't having fun. Looked down the road and knew this stuff was unfixable and would rather abandon ship now than resign in shame in 2 years. Vice President Watkins couldn't have been more right. Chairman and CEO Lay couldn't have been more wrong. Enron was at the very brink of disaster. It's a big enough story as things stand. The big guys at Enron had cashed in their stock early. They walked away with a ton of money. Most of Enron's employees and shareholders got clobbered. Ken Lay had been a very generous contributor to the presidential campaign of George W. Bush. The question that is now being widely asked is, what, if anything, did Lay get for his money? Here's Nightline correspondent Chris Bury.
There's clearly a corporate scandal. Whether there's a government scandal, it remains to be seen. And
even so, the old Washington scandal machine is getting oiled up again.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Capital Markets Subcommittee to order.
From the congressional investigations...
What did he know? When did he know it? And why didn't we?
To allegations of missing documents, top-dollar lawyers, and charges of stonewalling.
Why are we just hearing about these conversations that took place months ago now?
Well, every question you've asked me before or asked the president was about the president. I speak for the president.
It all seems so familiar. John Podesta should know. He was White House chief of staff during many of the Clinton crises.
I think you always have to make your own mistakes in order for them to be kind of burned in deeply into your reactions and how you're going to proceed when a scandal or a legal situation hits you. And I guess this administration is no different than those that have gone before them.
The Enron clouds had been gathering since December, when the biggest bankruptcy ever left so many investors and employees in the lurch. But the storm didn't hit Washington until last week, when 3 things happened almost at once. The Justice Department announced a criminal investigation, Enron's auditor admitted records had been destroyed, and the White House stumbled about who knew what and when.
I'm not aware of anybody in the White House who discussed Enron's financial situation.
That was Wednesday. The next day, the White House backtracked. Yes, in fact, Enron's chairman, Ken Lay, had reached out to 2 cabinet secretaries, Don Evans of Commerce and Paul O'Neill at Treasury, when the company was imploding. But were there other high-level contacts?
I can't speak for anybody other than Secretary Evans and O'Neill in this case in terms of what they told me.
That same day, the president tried to distance himself from Ken Lay by a Texas mile. making it sound as though Enron's chairman was closer to his Democratic predecessor in the governor's office.
He was a supporter of Ann Richards in my run in 1994. And she had named him the head of the governor's business council. And I decided to leave him in place, just for the sake of continuity. And that's when I first got to know Ken and worked with Ken. And
essentially, the president said, I did not have political relations with that man.
Craig McDonald, an advocate for campaign finance reform in Texas, says even in that governor's race, Ken Lay and his wife gave 3 times as much money to Bush as to Richards, and that the Bush-Enron relationship blossomed from there.
Enron and its PAC and through its executives gave hundreds of thousands of dollars. Ken Lay was one of the elite pioneer fundraisers and one of the early pioneers, which meant that he helped bundle campaign contributions for Bush's primary race. But they also gave lots of other favors. Access to the Enron jets during the primary. So Ken Lay and Enron were absolutely instrumental to Governor Bush winning the White House.
And he wasn't asking you for help?
He never asked me to help him at all.
By Friday morning, Treasury Secretary O'Neill was telling Good Morning America that Enron's chairman had called him in October and November, not asking for favors, but just to let him know the company was in trouble.
And I think it was quite appropriate for him to call me and give me a heads up. It's the kind of thing I would expect any big company executive to do.
But later that day, the Treasury Department confirmed that O'Neill's deputy, Peter Fisher, had talked at least half a dozen times with Enron's president, and the subject of helping the company did come up. Rebecca Smith covers Enron for the Wall Street Journal.
The phone calls are taking place while there are a couple of very important things happening with Enron. One is its stock is sliding toward oblivion at the time, and it's also facing a very serious downgrade or potential downgrade by the credit rating agencies.
We had no responsibility to help an individual private firm, and we didn't.
By the Sunday talk shows, the Bush administration, so tight-lipped about Enron before, had clearly chosen a new approach. Now, cabinet officials were openly recounting their conversations with Enron executives to demonstrate they had just said no.
I mean, I think it would have been an egregious abuse of the office of the Secretary of Commerce, the United States of America, for me to step in.
So, in the end, what did Enron and its chairman, Ken Lay, get for all their money and influence?
Mr. Lay was able to reach the people who might have been able to help. But the record shows they didn't help. So it also raises a question about how valuable it was in the end. It didn't bail out the company. It didn't save it.
And he got plenty out of this White House, just like he got out of the Bush when he was governor here. Ken Lay and Enron had access to the vice president, and the task force, the administration's task force on energy, produced an agenda that mirrors Ken Lay's. They also got the regulators they wanted. The federal regulators are handpicked by Ken Lay.
But Republicans are happy to point out that Ken Lay also played golf with Bill Clinton and took trips with his Commerce Secretary. What's more, Clinton's Treasury Secretary, Robert Rubin, recently called his old office on Enron's behalf, perhaps because the bank he now runs has hundreds of millions of dollars at stake. So the old Washington scandal machine may be oiled up and ready to go, but Republicans and Democrats alike are saying Enron's access alone was hardly surprising for such a well-connected company. And that, of course, may be the biggest scandal of all. This is Chris Bury for Nightline in Washington.
There should be plenty of blame to go around in the Enron collapse.
If you look at some of the Enron transactions, Arthur Andersen didn't have to sign off on them. The company didn't have to do them. The board of directors didn't have to be asleep. The credit people who lent billions of dollars to Enron might have actually attempted to find out what was going on.
Taking the fall for the fall of Enron. In a moment.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Sears.
She's hot. No, she's not. He's right. She's a babe. No, she's not.
Here you go, guys.
That's my mom. You guys are gross.
The Sears Fitness Sale. From now through Saturday, all treadmills are on sale with 0% financing at America's #1 fitness store. Sears. Where else?
I'd heard stories, but I had to see it with my own eyes.
I can't send it to you till I get to the hotel tonight.
Can't get information to your coworkers, so you're to blame.
Yeah, how did you know?
May I? You need the Sprint PCS Clear Wireless Workplace. Most advanced wireless package customized for your company. On the only all-digital, all-PCS nationwide network built from the ground up. It'll clear up that forehead thing.
Thanks.
Excuse me, ma'am. Duty calls.
Sunny afternoons, quiet neighborhoods. Then one little girl after another vanished. Does someone hold the key to unlocking this mystery? 2020 Downtown, Wednesday.
I wish I may, I wish I might have this wish I wish tonight. I wish Hawaii were closer. I wish my ex-boyfriend's girlfriend would gain 50 pounds, 60.
How will you use the moonroof? The 2002 Honda Accord. It's different for everyone. How are we gonna win on Sunday? How are we gonna win on Sunday?
Multiple shifts, lots of play action.
You want expert answers whenever you need them? Come to Office Depot, where our people listen, understand, and help.
How can I make these look like they're not just from my home office?
Some digital photos.
It'd be nice if everything was like that.
And praying doesn't hurt.
Office Depot. What you need to know.
Now from New York, Alan Sloan. He wrote this week's cover story on Enron for Newsweek. Here in Washington, attorney Lanny Davis, former special counsel to President Clinton, whose advice to Enron happens to be the title of his book, Truth to Tell. Tell it early, tell it all, tell it yourself. And to tell the truth, Lanny, I asked you to come on this broadcast tonight because I heard you on a radio call-in show a few days ago in which you made what I thought was a very interesting, simple, easy to understand analogy. And since nothing else I've heard about this story has been easy to understand, see if you can give it to me again. In a sense, you said Enron was running something like a gambling shop.
Well, they engaged in future contracts originally aimed at the energy marketplace, electricity and natural gas, but then it became a gambling casino as one would expect. You gamble in the future, you bet on the weather, you bet on broadband, you bet on advertising contracts, and you try to guess whether the price is going to be up or down. And where they went wrong from an accounting standpoint, at least as has been reported, is that they used offshore gambling locations, otherwise known as partnerships, and that hid from the public the actual financial results of those gambling activities.
All right, be a little more specific here. In other words, what you're saying is, if these gambles made money, all well and good.
Right.
If they lost money, what happened?
Well, the way these structures were organized, and I'm not judging whether there's unlawful conduct here. We've got to let the facts come out here and not prejudge. But the way they were set up, Ted, is that the losses were shielded from the balance sheet and the financial statements of the public reports to the SEC, as were some liabilities that would accrue if the stock dropped. So,
you see, now you're sounding like a lawyer again. You sound nice and simple the way you did the other night. These were separate companies that were set up?
I regress when I sometimes become a lawyer again. They were separate companies where if there were losses, they didn't show on the books of the company.
On the books of Enron?
Yes.
And you're saying that may actually be legal?
As Joe Lieberman said during the campaign finance issue, sometimes the worst things that we allow are legal, and it is potentially legal to have investments in side partnerships, and if the partnerships produce losses, you don't have to report those losses on the books of your company.
So the bottom line there was, and Alan Sloan will come to you in just a second, the bottom line though was the people who were running Enron, they knew full well, okay, Enron may be making money this year, but these offshore companies are losing more money or almost as much money as Enron is making. And if the investors knew that, they would have known that Enron was in trouble. The investor didn't know it. Most of the people working at Enron didn't know it. but the executives knew it, right?
Well, what Enron has admitted publicly is that there were, in fact, losses that should have been reported to the public and would have caused the stock to be much lower, which were not reported, and then there was almost $600 million in losses that they acknowledged in the middle of October should have been reported, and that was the beginning of the end.
Alan Sloan, does all of that make perfectly good sense to you, or do you want to do you want to twiddle with it a little?
Well, it makes perfectly good sense if you know what an accountant is. You see, everyone has the idea that being an accountant is like being in math class, where if I say to you, what's 2 plus 2, the answer is 4. But if you're going to hire an accountant on the accountant aptitude test, when I say what's 2 plus 2, the right answer is, what do you want it to be?
Now, is what you were talking about, Alan, the fact that Arthur Andersen, which was the accountant for Enron, that Arthur Andersen was simultaneously both a consultant and auditor to the company?
Right. It was not only a consultant and an auditor. It was both the inside auditor and the outside auditor, and a consultant. And for all I know, it hired dressmakers for Ken Lay's wife, and they were knocking down $52 million a year from Enron.
Right,
and when you compare that to the political contributions, it's an amazing amount of money.
But let me tell you something. It is my understanding that a lot of companies have that kind of a setup with their accountants. In fact, I don't know this for a fact, but someone told me this morning that Disney may have the same kind of operation.
Well, I'm sure it does. But what happened here is you had a company that was very, very aggressive. And Lanny, I think, is right. They wanted to keep their profits up, to keep their stock price up, to keep their options up. And in order to make this work, since it wouldn't have come if they had used what I would call honest or straightforward or normal accounting, they used tortured accounting, and Arthur Andersen signed off on it. And that's where the trouble starts.
And whose fault is that? Is that the accountant's fault, I mean the accounting company, or is that Enron's fault, or both?
It's the fault of both of them.
All right. Let's take a short break. When we come back, let's talk about politics. Let's talk about the possible political implications here. And I know, Lanny, perhaps a little surprisingly, you don't think there are many, but we'll talk about that in a moment.
It seems like only yesterday. When I started skating at 8 years old, I never thought I'd experience the thrill of winning a medal. With all the great memories has come another thing I thought I'd never experience, the pain of osteoarthritis.
Vioxx is here, a prescription medicine for osteoarthritis pain. With one little pill a day, Vioxx can provide powerful 24-hour relief. Vioxx specifically targets only the COX-2 enzyme, a key source of arthritis pain. People with allergic reactions such as asthma to aspirin or other arthritis medicines should not take Vioxx. In rare cases, serious stomach problems such as bleeding can occur without warning. Tell your doctor if you have liver or kidney problems. For more information, talk to your doctor about once daily Vioxx for the relief of osteoarthritis pain.
Perhaps my biggest victory is to be able to plan my day around my life instead of my pain.
Ask your doctor if Vioxx is right for you. Vioxx for everyday victories.
Tomorrow's the big event. Are we there?
The work is there,
Excellent.
but it's not here.
Not here?
Not here. We have a glitch.
A glitch?
A glitch. New York supplies are garbled. The servers in London are down, and everything from Asia has just plain vanished.
Vanished?
Vanished. You know, a glitch.
So no pitch. Well, what do we do tomorrow?
Discuss our global capabilities.
And that's when it hits you. You are so ready for IBM.
At Bank of America, we really wanted to participate in the Olympic Winter Games. But in the end, we decided to support the real athletes and stick to the things we do best. Like improving your performance by turning your checking account into an investment tool.
Coming up, Al Franken and Linda Ellerby on the golden age of news.
It was all white, blue-eyed men running it. You know, all the reporting was factual and right.
Brown. Politically incorrect with Bill Maher.
I'm going to be late for my own wedding.
No worries. My new Subaru Outback's more stable in a turn than a Lexus RX 300. Gets better gas mileage than a Ford Explorer. And like every Subaru, has the added traction of all-wheel drive.
Subaru Outback, the world's first sport utility wagon.
Ah, the rugged outdoorsy type. Nice choice.
Now you can get an APR as low as 2.9% on all 2002 Outback models.
And we're back once again with Newsweek's Alan Sloan and attorney Lanny Davis. Lanny, let me begin with you. You're advising your Democratic friends, don't touch it. I mean, don't try to smear the Bush administration with this one. And you're saying that because you don't smell anything here, you don't see anything here?
I'm saying two things. To my fellow Democrats, remember what happened to Al D'Amato when he tried to use Whitewater as a road to political success. He got out ahead of the facts, and we've got to allow the facts to drive this. So far, the Bush administration and the Bush White House have shown no connection to what happened at Enron, and those are so far the facts. Secondly, I think any crisis manager, and that's what I and my colleagues at my firm do, looks at the entire picture, the legal perspective, the political perspective, the public relations perspective, and there needs to be a real cautious approach by Democrats to take advantage here with just one perspective in mind, scoring political points, because I think there's great danger in that.
Alan Sloan, we heard someone in Chris Bury's piece say, wait a second, the Enron people did get something for their money. They were able to name some of the regulators. They were able to get Vice President Cheney's energy group to follow some of their advice and do some of the things that they wanted done. Can you put a little meat on those bones?
Well, I used to be a utilities reporter in my youth, and the most important thing when you're a utility, which Enron used to be, is to have the regulators do what you want. And they got tons of stuff that they wanted out of the federal, whatever it's called now, it used to be called the Federal Power Commission. I can't remember its name. They also, at various states where they were trying to do business, they invoked their Bush connections like a magic amulet. And got a lot of stuff out of there you wouldn't have thought they would have gotten. They did very, very well up until the point where they needed to be bailed out. And it seems that the Bush people didn't bail them out, but they got plenty of stuff otherwise, no question.
Anything inappropriate, unusual, or possibly even illegal about that?
Not that I know of. But then again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a writer.
Ted, may I just remind you on other programs that I've been on in my prior job, buying access in this country is as shocking political access as Rick's comment in Casablanca that I'm shocked that there's gambling going on in my casino. The very same people that express shock about that then stand in the way of campaign finance reform that might end the current system. I think right now the Democrats need to withhold judgment, not take political shots, and explore what is constructively the way to solve some of these problems through better disclosures and through protecting employees who have pension plans. That's the better way to go, I think.
So fundamentally what you're saying, Lanny, is that unless somebody comes up with something totally new, that, I mean, there hasn't even been a whiff of anything suggesting that the Bush administration did anything to help Enron out of its predicament, unless that turns up, okay, so they got money from a bunch of people who, it may later develop, were engaging in shady practices, possibly even criminal activity, but how could they have known?
Yes, and more particularly, be sure that we stick with the facts and not use innuendo as a surrogate. And by innuendo, I mean just because in the setup piece, Chris mentions that President Bush was both supported by and friends with Ken Lay, should not lead to an innuendo that the Bush White House had anything to do with the Enron collapse. If there's evidence, let's wait for that evidence to come out, and right now there isn't any.
Alan, what Lanny is saying is we really need a new kind of system, though. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, what we really need is people to take the system we have now and to be honest. Without boring everybody with the details, because it's hard enough to do this in print. If you look at some of the Enron transactions, Arthur Andersen didn't have to sign off on them. The company didn't have to do them. The board of directors didn't have to be asleep. The credit people who lent billions of dollars to Enron might have actually attempted to find out what was going on. All of the various people who were supposed to work under our current system didn't do it. And that's why the company failed. And you could set up endless stuff, and it would still fail if people don't do their jobs and don't stand up for what's right.
Let me take what you're saying one step further. Indeed, all the great minds on Wall Street all the people who presumably can look at companies like Enron and say, well, don't take what they're saying, without a grain of salt because there are problems here. Was anybody on Wall Street saying that? Were any of the great minds intuiting that there might be something wrong?
Well, I don't know if the great minds were thinking that. There are a few people who are generally regarded by most of Wall Street as cranks called short sellers, and some of them somehow twigged to the fact that Enron was a mess, and they made a lot of money from this. The mainstream Wall Street didn't catch on until far too late, and it was a great sight of watching all the rats leaving the sinking ship as 3 seconds before Enron goes under, everyone says, gee, maybe we should stop recommending the stock.
You know, Ted, let's not forget that Enron was not that unusual, that the dot-com rush in the 90s led to inflated stock values, led to a lot of people cashing in who didn't want to ask questions about whether their company was actually making money on its business model. Now we know that Enron was losing money while it was telling people it was making money, but that was a pretty common phenomenon that we're now catching up to with lots of other companies. That's why the constructive course for Senator Lieberman and the Congress is to look at Enron as an emblem of what went wrong and try to fix the problem.
And fixing the problem means?
I think more disclosure. I think there has to be another system to protect employees who are investing in their pension plans. And I also think there has to be a better sense that the business model is making money, not just looking at the top line and trying to meet analyst expectations every quarter, where there are pressures to meet the numbers which lead to some of these difficulties.
Lanny Davis, Ellen Sloan, thank you both very much. I'll be back in a moment.
To receive a daily email announcement about each evening's Nightline and a preview of special broadcasts, log on to the Nightline page at abcnews.com.
So the bun cake was bad.
The bun cake was abysmal, but you're missing the point of the story. The entire staff has food poisoning, leaving packages to be shipped, deadlines to be met, and one sales manager to do it all.
Just one?
One.
You didn't have the bun cake?
He had the Danish. Stay with me. He jumps on FedEx.com. He's shipping. He's tracking. Getting confirmations on his cell phone. He's pagers, PDA.
He's got a PDA?
Everybody's got a PDA. Nevertheless, packages arrive. He triumphs over adversity.
I don't have PDA.
Check, please.
Mike, let's take a look at those reports next Thursday. And Tom, Susan, set up a meeting on Monday. Any other thoughts?
You know, sir, instead of saving money by having only one office pen, we could just go to Staples.
Yeah, with Staples 365 savings, they compare prices and back it up with a 110% price match guarantee.
That's sharp thinking.
Hey, client's here. We need the pen.
Low prices on every item, every day. Staples 365 savings. Yeah, we've got that.
Food makes life more satisfying. Weight Watchers understands that. Our Winning Points plan means you don't have to put life on a diet. You can eat any food you like, stay satisfied, and still lose weight. Join Weight Watchers now and get our new guide to satisfying meal and snack ideas free, plus free registration. Call 1-800-651-6000.
Weight Watchers. Real food, real life, real results.
Meet my 21st century family. They're always on the phone, or online, or out and about, and it all adds up. That's why we got the total package from Quest. We get high-speed DSL, phone service with tons of features. Oh, and Mr. Wireless?
He gets a plan with 1,200 minutes, including long distance.
For only $99.89 a month, get the new total package from Quest.
Who knew the future would be so simple?
Our country has a great opportunity to create a future that meets our energy needs, reduce our dependence on foreign oil, and protect America's remaining special places. We can invest in solar and wind power and build more fuel-efficient cars and trucks. Or we can continue the policies of the past and sacrifice places like the Arctic Wildlife Refuge without achieving energy security. It's our choice. Find out where your senator stands with the future or the past.
And that's our report for tonight. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Tomorrow, Americans are finally smoking less. So why is there more smoking in the movies we watch? Are movie makers being creative or irresponsible? Watch World News Tonight.
ABC Wednesday. Jay's looking for a little attention, but Damon has other ideas.
What does this game have that I don't have?
A mute button. I knew my wife and kids. Wednesday on ABC.
See this? This is $1. When I was a little kid, it meant something. It was worth a lot. Today, what's happened?
Now $1 means something again. Every day with new McDonald's dollar deals.
Only $1?
An entire menu of new and classic favorites, like the Juicy McDouble sandwich or a regular order of America's favorite fries, each only $1 every day. New McDonald's dollar deals.
Now that's what $1 should do.
Use MSN to get online. Use it to plan a fishing trip. Use it to buy a graphite fishing rod. And hand-tied flies. And searching for basic fishing techniques might be really useful too. Want an internet service you can really use? MSN from Microsoft is a great alternative to AOL. MSN, more useful every day.
This is James DePriest of the Oregon Symphony. Whether you're absorbing a great painting or listening to your favorite Mozart symphony, you're having a uniquely personal experience that reflects art's emotional power. We Oregonians are blessed with a rich cultural community that requires only your participation to flourish. So treat yourself. Experience art. It will inspire you.
This is K2, the breaking news station.
Good evening. Welcome to Politically Incorrect. Let me tell you who is on the panel tonight. Over here, of course, Linda Ellerby, renowned journalist, now the executive producer of a new original special called When I Was a Girl. It is on the Women's Entertainment Network this March. Welcome back to our show. William McGowan, your book we're going to be talking about in a minute, Coloring the News, How Crusading for Diversity Has Corrupted American Journalism. Anxious to get into that. Okay, Cynthia Garrett, lovely to have you here, as always. You're an actress, an author, and the National Vice President spokesperson for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. Good for you. And Al Franken, of course, had his own decade in the 80s, but around this show, it's always the Al Franken decade. Please give a hand to this panel. And let's talk about this book. I found great resonance in this because as someone who has said for many years that political correctness is all about elevating sensitivity over truth, I think you have hit a nerve here. You basically say, I'll let you say it, but basically that we don't have truth anymore in journalism because they are so interested in being diverse, multicultural, and as you say, editors are evaluated by how many minority faces are in photographs.